Hey everybody, I'm JJ Johnson. You're watching Reality Survival. So, as you guys know, I was a SEER instructor many years ago, 16 years ago, and I taught at the U.S. Air Force Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape School, or SEER School. And since I've started my YouTube channel, I hadn't talked a whole lot about evasion practices or principles or really any of that kind of thing. And I pretty much stuck with just wilderness survival, urban survival, disaster preparedness, that kind of basic stuff. But based on the way that things are going in the country and all that kind of stuff, I can see really legitimate reasons why it might be important to know escape and evasion principles and that kind of thing. So, and those could range from a wide variety of things. I mean, it could be foreign invasion, could be civil war, could be race wars, could be, God, watch the news, you know what I mean? It's just, it's crazy some of the things that are going on out there, and it really kind of baffles my mind. So, anyway, with that being said, I'm going to start a series of videos that talk a little bit about some evasion principles and that kind of thing. And I'm not going to get into anything classified, obviously. I'm not going to get into anything that would jeopardize the safety of, American airmen or troops or whatever, because I fully support them and that kind of thing. But I am going to address things that I've seen out there on YouTube, okay? And I'm going to talk a little bit about both sides of the issue, the truth and the fiction regarding some of the things that I see, because YouTube is filled with a lot of things that isn't necessarily great info, in my opinion. And there's a lot of really good stuff out there too, though. So with that being said, when you see these videos coming out, they're going to be on evasion, escape and evasion techniques and different things like that. Kind of keep that in mind, that's where I'm coming from. I don't like to see a lot of bad information out there, and so with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So today, the first video in the series is going to be about road crossings. If you are in a escape and evasion situation, for whatever the reason may be, and you are going to be forced to cross a road, then you need to realize that this is one of the most potentially dangerous circumstances that you're going to be in. Now, why is that? Let me go ahead and also say this. These videos may be a little bit longer than some of my other videos, some of my other quick tip videos and stuff like that, because there's more information that needs to be described and you need to cover more aspects of it. So if you're looking for a really short video, these aren't going to be your videos, and or if you don't have time to watch it right now, just click the little button that says watch later, and then you can put it on your playlist and hit it later on. So anyway, with that, road crossings are really dangerous, and for somebody who is trying to evade. And the reason for that is that people are lazy, right? And the vast majority of people who search for other people who are trying to not be found would prefer to stay in their vehicle and be able to search from the vehicle or look alongside the road, look for signs and evidence that the people have crossed there, and then pick up their trail and go. So you need to be aware of that when you're thinking about this. So the first thing that you want to do when you get ready to cross a road, as you're coming through the woods and you see a road, as we've got a road in our background here, you want to stop and observe if it's reasonable for you to do so. Now, clearly, if somebody is right on your tail, then you don't have the opportunity to do that, okay? But if you have the opportunity to do so, try to stop and observe it, and for a reasonable amount of time to determine that there's not a heavy traffic on it. The next thing that you want to do is, when you're doing that observation, you want to stay back away from the road a little ways, to where you can just see the road, because it's real easy to see through the woods from a vehicle and see back into the woods, for 20, 30 yards or so. But if you get back beyond that a little bit further, it becomes a lot more difficult to pick things up. So once you move forward and you see that there's a road there, then back up a little bit and do your observation if you can, okay? Obviously, if you could do this from an elevated position, that would be great, but sometimes it's not going to be, up to your control. The next thing is when you approach the road, you want to start being a lot more cognizant of your tracks, and making sure that you're replacing vegetation, making sure that you're trying not to step in mud puddles and things like that. They're going to leave really hard imprint tracks. Try to stay to more solid ground. You can even wrap your feet in cloth and stuff like that. I'll show you that in a different video. There's a lot of things you can do to kind of reduce your sign as you're approaching the road. Again, the reason you want to do that is because if they catch your sign from crossing the road, they're gonna go back and try to backtrack or look on each side of it to identify your trail. So the more you can do to cover that up, especially close to the roads, the better. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the other considerations that you want to do here. We'll move up to the road, get a little closer. Okay, so once you've got up to your road, ideally what you'd like to do is you'd like to find a curve in the road. As you can see, the road over here curves off down and to the right, and then when I look this way, it curves off down around that way as well. And the reason that you want to do that is because when you expose yourself on the road, if you're in the inside of a curve, then an observation vehicle or somebody searching for you is not going to be able to see you from a very far distance away. So we want to go ahead and try to find that curve if it's at all possible. Okay, so as you can see, in a longer patch of road, you have a longer patch of straight road, I should say, there's a higher degree possibility that you're going to be seen from a distance. Now this is even a short section of straight road. In many places in open country, you could see for a mile or so. This is just a couple hundred yards or whatever, but in open country, you really want to try to stay in the turns because this is going to expose you a lot from both directions. Okay, so now once we've decided that it's safe to go ahead and approach the road, there are going to be a couple of different techniques that you can do for this. In a road like this is a wet gravel road where we've had a lot of precipitation lately. You're gonna leave sign that you're crossing the road. Okay, doesn't really matter what you do. If a good tracker is following you, there's really not going to be a lot you can do to completely obfuscate your sign. Okay, but you do want to try to reduce it. The other thing you want to do is you want to plan for those people who are not highly trained, because those are the majority of people that will be tracking you. All right, so what you want to do here is when you approach this, you want to try to approach in an area that, if at all possible, is somewhat level and easy to get across. And the reason you want to do that is because if it's too steep of an incline on each side, you're going to leave a whole lot of evidence when you're climbing down or climbing up each side. So if you can find a place where it's close to the road, it's at least somewhat level so that you can hop across fairly easily without making a ton of sign, then that's going to be your best bet. So for instance with this, this is a pretty good spot for where I could cross. I would be able to come over here to the road without leaving a lot of sign. I can move across it and I can be in the woods and moving without it being too difficult. Now you don't want to just walk straight across the road, and the reason for that is you're just telling the person who's following you what direction you're going and where you're going. Okay, make them work for it a little bit more than that. So on a softer road, the best technique is to go ahead and point your shoes when you're crossing in the direction that the road is going. That way, if they do see a footprint, and if they've been walking along the road, they're probably seeing other footprints too, and it's heading in the direction of the road, then that's going to make them potentially think maybe you've just gone that way. Trackers tend to track linearly. When they see one footprint, they look out in front of that next footprint about 18 inches for that next footprint. Okay, now on a road like this, sometimes you'll make prints, sometimes you won't. It just kind of depends on how solid the surface is, but it's going to point them in that direction. When you're on a hardball surface, you can do something called cutting the corner, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But anyway, let me go ahead and demonstrate this first, and then we'll move on to the next thing. So obviously I would be camouflaged up and all that kind of stuff. for this demonstration. It really doesn't make any sense. But I'm basically going to approach the road, trying not to step on, too big of sticks or anything like that. Now what I'm doing with that is, as I said earlier, I'm basically just trying to make sure that my footprints are facing one direction or the other. It doesn't make a difference. If you turn in the middle, to keep an eye on things, that's fine. Whatever the case may be. But that's one potential technique. So let's go ahead and talk about cutting the corner. So this is going to be a little bit more effective on a hard ball road where you're not going to leave as much sign once you're in the road. Okay, it's difficult for trackers to track on a hardball surface. Now it can be done, and you do leave some prints, but it's a lot more difficult. So anyhow, what you want to do with this, or what the basic principle behind this is that when you're approaching a road, if obviously you've done your observation and all that kind of stuff, what you're going to do is you're going to kind of approach the road and turn in a curve so that it gives the impression that you're going to travel in that direction of the road. You're basically cutting off the corner, and I'll show you a demonstration here in a second. And that's going to lead the tracker to believe, hey, he started to turn this way. He didn't just approach the road at a 90-degree angle, so he's probably going to head down the road that way. All right. And again, you're counting on the fact that you're leaving sign as you're approaching the road in the softer material that you're going to go that way. Okay. You're intentionally leaving that sign. It's kind of a counter tracking technique. And so then once you get on the road, then you're on the nice hard surface, then you can do a 180 and you can head back down this way. Head down it, till it's a safe amount, and then cut back in on the other side and resume your travel. Okay, so let me see if I can get this, just kind of a quick demonstration for you so you'll kind of understand what we're talking about here. Okay, as I start to approach the road, I'm going to come walking up this way, and I'm going to fake that I'm cutting to the left. All right, so I'm going to turn this way. At this point in the transition in the road, I'm not highly concerned about whether I'm leaving tracks. In fact, I kind of want to let them see that I'm heading this way. Once you get out into the center of the road, where you've got the high point in the road, and it's most likely that you're not going to leave any tracks, then you can turn around and you can head back this direction. Then after I've come back this way a little bit on the center of the hardball surface, then I can jump back off to the left on this side and resume my course. Obviously, as I decide to hop back off the road here, I want to be more careful that I'm not leaving a lot of sign when I first cross into the woods, because right along these edges of the roads is where they're going to be searching for your footprints if they decide to double back after they've clued into the fact that you weren't traveling that way. Some additional considerations are, if you've got a bridge or a large culvert or something like that, then you would ideally go ahead and try to go under the road if you can. Try to avoid them if you can. Let's see here. Like I said, also, when you're doing this, you could cover your tracks or cover your shoes with some cloth, tie like a shamag or something like that up around your shoes. That's going to help lessen the imprint a little bit. And then let me go ahead and show you just a little bit about covering tracks. In a lot of survival manuals and stuff like that, they'll talk about taking a a limb with a bunch of branches on it and sweeping your tracks over when you cross a road. That's actually not very effective because it basically just makes a huge signal to the tracker, hey, I'm crossing the road right here and I'm covering my tracks. But what you can do on especially dry and dusty roads is you can take a limb and you can actually kind of just pat the footprints, just lightly kind of pat them up and down, and that'll basically kind of like make the tracks look a little bit older and, you know, not as fresh and stuff as a regular footprint. But you don't want to do any kind of really heavy, you know, wiping and that kind of thing. So anyway, guys, these are just some different considerations for evasion road crossings. Like I said, I'll do some additional ones on these. If you guys are interested in this and you want to see more on it, let me know in the comments below. If it's not something that you really care about too much, then that's fine. Let me know too, because I want to put out stuff that you guys are interested in now. If you guys haven't subscribed, then go ahead and please click the subscribe button. I definitely appreciate that. And as always, I definitely appreciate it when you click the thumbs up button, when you share it with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. And don't forget to live the 6 Ps. Proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. Stay safe, guys. One of my biggest time wasters is driving to and from work every day. I can't text, I can't email, it's boring, and it wastes my time. But I started using Audible, listening to audiobooks as I drive. Audible gave me back 2 hours per day, and I love it. Click the link in the description below to get 30 days free, plus a free audiobook from audible.com when you sign up for the service.